Welcome to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. Here's your hosts, Kyle Baker and Dieter Burrell. All right, welcome back to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. We're here in the shed again today, and we're excited to have another show. And today I'm gonna pick Dieter's brain and see what he's been up to now that he's went out on his own, and any tips he has and things that have been going on, and just figure some of that stuff out. So what's been going on, Dieter?
Well, you said something, tips. I'm going to have to say this. As you guys all know, I got my own business doing architecture, of course. What else? This is what we talk about here. It's B&A Architectural Group, Inc. We are a minority certified small business. We're registered with the state of Florida, and we are registered with the city and the county as a business. And it's been a whirlwind. I've been having to pick my brother's brain to learn about how to manage a few things, mostly the tax part of things. Since I've just started, and I'm not an LLC like some you guys have done. I am a Corp S, which is another that we can talk. We can have a long podcast about which one's better for who. But if you want to do business with any government agency, they all tell you they won't do business with you if you try to use your Social Security, because of privacy things. From what I understand, it has to do with privacy mostly. So
that's why you incorporated?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It just exposes too many people when you're using your Social Security number.
Gotcha.
And it was just rules. If you got to learn the rules if you're going to go into business, and if you don't know the business, then it'd be a good idea to ask somebody that's gone through it. I mean, obviously, I'm going through it, and I'm asking lots of questions and asking people and picking their brains. And there's a lot of our consultants that I've worked with. They've offered, and I thank them very much for them, because I know that I can lean on them. You know, like I was recommended an accountant and recommended software to use. I'm not going to tell you what software because there's too many variables for that. But, you know, you have to get organized. You have to get organized in how to manage your clients. You have to get organized how to manage the money that comes in, the money that goes out. That's important. And I'm going through a bit of a learning curve.
So let's go back a couple months. You were working at the firm that we were at together, and I'm assuming that this decision happened over a long period of time. I'm sure you didn't walk in on Tuesday and say, "Oh, today's my last day." But once you left, what was your plan? How did you approach? I know you started getting a couple of jobs coming in and things like that. How did you kind of have that happen?
You know, I think COVID had a lot of influence in where I saw myself and where I was heading and what I was doing and how I was spending time with my family, my son, my daughter, my wife, and it impacted me. I think COVID was sort of the trigger, and I don't know if you guys have seen in the news how an entire staff at some Burger King up north quit.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they had their reasons for doing that, but there's something that COVID has done to a lot of people, and it's triggered them to see things in a different set of eyes, either for the worse or for the best. But it does kind of make you think more about family than it ever did before.
Yeah, I do see a lot more people thinking about the mortality of their life now, and that it could end as quickly as it began. And, you know, am I doing what my real purpose is here, and am I fulfilling all of my needs and wanting to be able to spend time with my family and all those types of things? So I could definitely see where that would be, like having kids and, you know, architecture is a very time-consuming thing that we're a part of, and it can take up a lot of your time, and trying to find that work-life balance can be really difficult. So I see where that would come into play in making this decision, and I think you made a good one. So
to some people, see, I also turned 51, so something happened between 50. I think it happened to me.
You got your 50. Midlife crisis, huh?
Yeah, I think it happened to me at 50, and it took an entire year. Of course, it didn't help that 50 was 2020.
Right.
An entire year to hit 51. All of a sudden, you're like, I don't think I'm heading in the right direction where I want to go.
Yeah.
And I started looking at things going, 67. I think by the time I retire, they're gonna make the retirement age 70 something, which is nuts to me to be full retired. But then all of a sudden you ask yourself, it's like, what am I doing my remaining 15 years before I retire, or 17 years in some cases, before I retire? Is this it? Am I just going to work and let my children grow up and not being there for them? Or do I want to create something that says this is something that Dad did and we were with him and we watched him do it and we were involved with him? And so to some people, they think that way early on in their career. Sometimes they're not even thinking that way. They're thinking, it's like, yeah, I can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
If you do something and you enjoy it, I think you're going to make a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I'm the type that, just like the test, you can fail the test, but you can retake it. It's the same thing, I think, in any business environment. Don't be afraid to kind of try it, especially if you have people that support you. You sometimes listen to these like motivational speakers that talk about, give it your all.
Yeah.
Sometimes you hear, I love Arnold Schwarzenegger's when he says, it's like, sleep faster.
Yeah.
He says, it's like, well, everybody sleeps 8 hours. You just wasted, 2 hours every day for the rest of your life. You could sleep for 4 hours or 6 hours. Just sleep faster.
Yeah.
But
he says everyone says you have to sleep for 8 hours, and I say sleep faster. Yeah. Yeah, I like that one too.
But so I think mortality. You said it correctly. Mortality hit me because even at the age of 50. My wife was kind of joking. She was just joking with me, but she said, "So the guitar that you bought is your Harley that you were, for some other people." And I go, I guess you could say that because I've always wanted to play the guitar, and I do pick it up on occasions. And I hear all the time people say, it's like, and I'm gonna tell everybody, it's like, tell yourself you're gonna pick it up for 2 minutes, because you know what happens in those 2 minutes? It turns into 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you pick it up for 5 minutes and it turns into 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And it turns into 15 minutes. And all of a sudden, like I had a friend of Kristen's, whole family friend. He was an electrician. And he came by the house and I asked him a bunch of questions about electricity, and he picked up the guitar and he started playing. And I go, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
You're a guitarist. So seeing him play the guitar, kind of like, and I go, yeah, I've been learning. And I told him, it's like, and I want to get better at it. So he goes, just keep at it. Just pick it up every day. He says, just play with it a little bit.
Yeah.
And of course, my fingers, I've been acting really weird ever since I been working on the shed. My wife says you probably have some sort of carpal tunnel on it. But anyways, that's neither here or there.
So let's go back to the new business. And what is the focus? Where are you trying to focus your efforts? What are you going after? Are you just kind of trying to feast right now and just whatever comes to you, you're taking? Are you trying to be directional about it?
Well,
what's your approach?
Well, it's interesting because I just had a conversation with a consultant that we've done a lot of work with, and I won't mention him on the podcast just for privacy, but I asked him, it's like if there was anything that came in his way that he saw somebody like a small job, or something like that I could help him with, to give me a call. And he says, well, what's your focus? And I'm like, I can pretty much do anything. It's like I couldn't take on like a 50 or 70,000 square foot project because those would demand a lot more. It would demand staffing and all this kind of stuff. So, and he goes, no. What I mean by that is, say, would you take on renovation? I go, yeah, I'll take on renovation. I'll take on brand new construction. Because right now, since I'm in that growth period, it's very open. And you'd be surprised, because I even had a conversation with somebody last night that called me and say, and I can't tell you the story. I'll tell you the story in a couple of months. But he calls me and says he had a phone call from a big company that offered him an opportunity to work, and they're doing tons of warehouses. And he says he was going to give them my name, so that if they call me, that at least I was aware that it wasn't a joke. So I said, yeah, just give them my name. I'm open right now. And we're talking a big conglomerate company that they're wanting to do all these warehouses. So, add it up. So you guys can make any assumptions you guys want. But I'm in growth. So I'm going to cut it short, guys, because I'm going to pass it on to Kyle so he can tell his joke of the day.
And we'll talk about it more. And I'm excited to hear how things work out and anything that you come across on this journey and things that you learn, so we can discuss it and go from there. But before we go, as always, the joke of the day. How do you get a squirrel to like you? Act like a nut. Thanks for listening to the T-Squared Dad's Brown Bag Podcast. Please subscribe on your favorite platform, and we will talk to you next time.